Good morning, everybody. I'm Larry Weissoon. If you enjoy real-world hunting and fishing talk, you're really going to enjoy listening to my good friend, Luke Clayton, and his guest for the next hour.
This is David Fox, and welcome to Outdoors with Luke Clayton and Friends. Luke has been a recognized outdoors writer for the past 3 decades and writes for a host of outdoor publications. Luke pens a weekly newspaper outdoors column that appears in over 40 Texas newspapers. Luke is on the pro staff of Pyramyd Air, your one-stop shop for everything air gun related. Smokin Tex electric smokers and AGM Global Vision, maker of an awesome line of thermal hunting scopes and spotters. Feel free to contact Luke through his website, catfishradio.org. Now let's join Luke and his guests for this week's show.
Well, thank you, fellas, for that nice introduction. And Mr. Whitetail is with us like he's been for about 17 years. Larry, I think you're just back from a trip over in where? Great Britain? I'm not sure where you were.
Well, I think we flew over Great Britain going to Sweden and then ended up in Finland. And I'll tell that story some other time. I had an absolutely fantastic trip, and you know, we're so fortunate. Look, you mentioned 17 years. Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable, has been with us almost the entire time. We've had Mossberg rifles and shotguns. My gosh, Stealth Vision, the unbelievable optics that you and I use. VINEYARDMAX, the bait that works like a charm. They sell my knives. They sell all kinds of other great things. Taurus, I've been using their handguns and lever actions now for a while. And of course, DSC, and DSC is Conservation Education and Hunter Advocacy. And before we go anywhere else, I want to remind people about the January 9th through 12th. It used to be the Kay Bailey Hutchinson Center. Now it's the World Congress Center there in Atlanta, Georgia, because they're tearing the thing down in Dallas. Look forward to seeing everybody there. And that's where I met years ago Stefan and Sophia Bankston with Scandinavian Pro Hunters, who I hunted whitetail deer with in Finland. Where I wanted to go with all that is in Finland, as in throughout lots of Europe, very seldom do you see camo. Most of the hunters there were a load and green. And so part of my dress while I was there was to be dressed in load and green. But going back years ago, when I was doing a lot of stuff with the Realtree, I got a call one morning that says, "Hey, you've been hunting South Texas a long time. Show up in the camo the next time that you wore it, or the dress, how you dressed." So I show up down on the Encinitas Ranch where Realtree crew there, and I am dressed in a silver belly hat, a white shirt, a red bandana, a brown brush popper ducking jacket, blue jeans that were starched with my pants stuck in my leg, and then the leggings on the tall boots that I was wearing to keep snakes from biting and being scratched. And they just kind of laughed at me and said, "Man, you can't kill a deer like that," but you could. And you could dress differently. And we talked off before we started all this a little bit about some of the things that you and I both have worn quite a bit of in the past. And I'm going to let you kind of address that, and then we'll go from there.
You bet, Larry. Yeah, I bet that raised some eyebrows. They were thinking, no, did he ever kill a deer back in those days? But yeah, what really got me thinking about this topic was I've just about finished a feature article for Fur Fishing Game magazine.
Right.
Well, the editor, he wanted one on deer hunting. The topic would be deer hunting then and now. Well, you know, so I wrote the article, quite a lengthy. I think it'll probably be about 2,500 words when it's finished. But I sent him the article, and I got a reply back. That's the way it works with editors. He says, "You're excellent article. You did a great job, but you're heavy on the then." And I talked a lot about how deer hunting was back in 1961 when I was 11 years old, and how I dressed and all that kind of stuff. He said, "We need more now." In other words, current information, which is really a little bit easier to come up with than some stuff 150 years ago, but anyway, so I need to doctor it up, as I say, a little bit and finish that up. But it got me thinking, the way when I was growing up, say from age 11 to probably, to be honest with you, age 25, or camo did not become real popular until I was probably upper 20s, maybe.
Yes, sir.
I hunted most back then. I'd put on we call them the red checkered shirts, but a black and red Woolrich type. They weren't
right.
They weren't the real deal Woolrich, but and still this day, you see me, you're going to put on sometimes in the winter when you're deer hunting, I'll just love to wear their cotton, they're comfortable. And I'll wear undershirt and one of those, a red and black shirt. But the truth is, I've usually got a coat on over it that covers that up anyway. But I think people are, they're a little bit, I don't know, what people read, newcomers into deer hunting, if it's not this particular pattern that's going to suit oak trees, or if it's not the pattern that made for hunting out in more open country or mesquite country, you're not going to kill a deer. But Larry, I know, and you definitely know, that's not true. It's just being still is probably way more important than what you've got on, in a way.
You're right, in a lot of different ways. Now, you mentioned the red and black. Usually, and I remember and still do, like you, I wear red and black plaids every once in a while, particularly as a shirt if I don't need a coat or something like that. But deer have a hard time seeing red as red. I think they probably see it as kind of a gray or a brown, and that black and red really kind of break up your pattern, and that's really what camo needs to do when you get right down to it. And so there's all kinds of camo. Yeah, I love some of the real tree stuff. I love the way it looks. I love the material that clothing is made out of, and a lot of my coats are camo because of the fact that they're great garments, kind of thing.
Yeah, right.
But being still and moving very slowly, deer are such that particularly, and I hunt off the ground almost exclusively, except for occasionally crawl in a deer stand when the weather's bad or that kind of thing. But I've found, and I love playing with deer and what I call messing with deer, and to where I usually put on a pair of brown or green leather gloves that kind of protect my hands a little bit, but from all kinds of things. But I've learned that if I move, I can move my hands very slowly, and deer really don't pay attention with it if they're covered with gloves. If I take my gloves off and move them quickly, guess what? Man, immediately the deer pick up on them. So to me, it's staying. I use where there's broken shade and shadows. Man, that to me, if you can get in those kind of situations, that's a great natural camo to begin with, regardless of whether you're wearing red and blacks or browns or greens or the latest camo pattern kind of thing. But that works well. And then just moving very slowly when you move, and not that jerking movement. Don't jerk your head very quickly to the left or the right, or look up all of a sudden kind of thing. And that's what deer and other wildlife really pick up on is movement sometimes, more so than colors or shapes.
Larry, out in the woods too, just leaves and branches, gently blowing around, or deer see movement all the time. But it, like you say, that is something to think about. If you say you're sitting there leaning with your back against a tree or something, and you think you want to look over, you think I heard a buck's doe snort or something, you jerk your head over there. Well, if you're right, it's that quick movement. And I've kind of, not really thinking about it through the years, do that. I just kind of go into slow motion, when I'm out there.
Exactly. Yes.
And just move really, really slow. And a lot of people think, currently they think if they're not in a hunting blind, I like to hunt out of a blind too. If it's cold, break the wind, or say you're hunting over a big food plot or something, why not get some elevation so you can see? But I've also hunted a lot, just be back in, say, a pin oak flat or something like that in East Texas, just lean up against or sit down against a big old big oak or something there with your back against the oak, where you can look down in the area there. Killed a lot of deer doing it, hunting that way, Larry,
Absolutely. And again, to me, clothing, where it becomes important too is on those really still mornings. And what I'm talking about there is that you've got an outer material so that if you rub your arm, you're sitting down, you rub your arm against your knee or against your thigh, that you don't have to hear this kind of sound, as you do that. So to me, I like the softer materials that don't make noise. I know if I can hear it, probably a deer can hear it, maybe not a long way off, but you never know. There may be one right behind you somewhere that you hadn't seen yet that goes, oops, what was that? Nope, that wasn't a natural sound. I'm out of here, kind of thing.
Exactly. So, Larry, we need to talk a little. I've got a couple of guys want to talk some fishing with me, but I'd like you to come back again at the end, and let's me and you, we've just scratched the surface. This is deer season, and my gosh, I could spend the whole hour just talking, you and I talking about deer hunting, But how about
we have.
We have. How about coming back and we'll talk a little fishing here, whatever, and then you and I get back and talk some more deer hunting. How about that?
That sounds like a fantastic idea.
Folks, this segment is made possible by Ultrimatic Feeders. Go online to ultrimaticfeeders.com and check out the most awesome line of game feeders in the world. I've been using these things for 15 years, and I've got one that's been in the woods about 10 or 11 years. I forget exactly how long. Check them out, ultrimaticfeeders.com. Folks, I want to tell you about an awesome destination down at Lake Tawakoni. It's Wind Point Park. If you love the outdoors, if you like camping in an area, I bet I saw 60 deer. I was in there recently touring the place, went fishing down there. It's some awesome fishing, camping, long-term RV rentals overnight. There's some beautiful cabins, some bigger cabins and littler ones right there by fishing. You can walk out the door and fish at some of those places. But the place is neat as a pin. It's been around for 10 years. Wind Point Park, if you haven't been down there in the last 10 years, it's all remodeled and just beautiful. So check it out online. I think the website is windpointparktx.com. Of course, you can just Google Wind Point Park, Tawakoni, and pull it up. But I want you to know about it. You're going to be hearing old Luke talk about the fishing down there a lot. I've already done some bank fishing there, so you can catch a lot of blues, and you can also catch a ton of channel catfish along those rocks. Another thing I want to tell you about, VINEYARDMAX. The website is vineyardmax.net. They make an awesome line of game feeders, fish feeders. They're just an awesome product, but they also have a deer attractant. That's what I really want to tell you about. It's called VINEYARDMAX. It's made from dried hammer milled grape hulls and wheat bran, I think it is, or ground up wheat, and also some corn chops. So it's got stuff in it deer like, plus it's got that scent of grapes that we've used it. Larry and I've used it out in West Texas where a deer have never seen a grape and had them come in on it. So check that out, and it's the website again is vineyardmax.net. Folks, this segment is made possible by Smokin Tex electric smokers that I've been using a long, long time, CatfishPro, catfishing baits and catfish supplies, Ultrimatic Feeders, and AGM Global Vision, maker of the spotters and thermal scopes that I hunt with. Well, friends, what do you say we do something a little bit different from deer hunting? Let's talk about some upland bird hunting, and some upland bird hunting close to Dallas, just a little bit south of Dallas. Now, there's pen-raised birds, release birds. That's if you hunt upland birds around North Texas, you're going to hunt them. There's some preserves that are better than others. Now, Mr. Brett Jepsen runs an operation, Three Curls Outfitters. I bet a lot of you know Brett and probably have hunted ducks or whatever with him. We're going to talk about the upland birds. Brett, thanks for being with us, buddy.
Hey, you betcha, Luke. Thanks for having me on.
Yep, it's been a while since we've communicated, but I've written articles about you in the past, and I see all the good stuff that you've done in the last decade or so. But I want everybody to learn about coming up to shoot quail with you, or probably maybe chuckers, I don't know, but pheasant, upland birds.
Okay.
Tell us where you are, where the headquarters is, and a little bit about that operation, if you would, please, sir.
Sure. So we're about 45 minutes south of Dallas, just south of Waxahachie would be the closest larger town. Our lodge we built back in 2020 has 11 bedrooms. We can sleep up to 44 guys. Now I don't suggest you bring that many when you come out to upland hunt with us, but it's perfect for dove season with that many guys. But lots of stuff to do at the lodge. So we hunt roughly 80,000 acres around the lodge, and we do everything from thermal hog hunting, helicopter hunting, ducks, dove, and then of course your upland hunts. And then in your downtime, we feed you. We've got an open bar there. Axe throwing, shooting ranges, skeet, pool, ping pong, golf simulator, you name it. So lots of fun stuff to do there at the lodge.
You bet. And of course, you're in North Texas, your location there, you're close to several million people. So somebody that like me, I used to keep Brittany Spaniels, and back, say in the 80s and early 90s maybe, I used to lease some pretty good sized tract of land out in Jack County. There were a lot of birds out there then, you know. But nowadays, and I thank goodness the quail population is bouncing back out west. I know that, which we're all thankful. But for somebody up in North Texas that just wanted to go out for a morning, see some good dog work, you know, some good pointers or setters, whatever, and shoot some quail or maybe some pheasant, whatever, could they plan like a morning hunt with you and just drive down and do it and then go back home, that type of thing?
Absolutely. So we do both. We can do the full-on lodging and meals, come in the night before and enjoy a night hanging out at the lodge and go hunt the next morning. Or we have a lot of guys that, exactly what you said, just come out for the morning. Some guys want to come out and let us do the work and guide and run our dogs. And then we have a lot of guys that, you know, they, like you said, they go to hunt out west quite often. But, hey, before I go out there and make that trip, can I bring my dogs out just for a few warm-up runs? And they'll come out for a morning hunt and do that with us. And we're kind of happy either way, happy to have you at the lodge and run the hunt with our dogs, or we're happy for you to bring yours out and just hunt a morning, whatever you want to do.
That's a big plus for people with dogs that do not have to drive 6 hours, you know. I mean, so that's good to know they could bring their own dogs out if they want to, or go with, you were telling me, you know, of course, someone with some well-trained pointers or setters and come out and hunt with those guys, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We do it either way, so we get a good mix of both.
You know what, Brett? It's hard to talk to old Luke here without throwing in a recipe. Tell you real quick. I'll tell you something real quick. You can take Bob Hood, the late outdoor editor for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, was a great friend of mine. Bob and I we used to go down to Rancho Caracol down in Mexico together. We had a lot of fun hunting and fishing. He taught me a recipe for quail. Take a Dutch kettle, Brett, put you a stick of butter in the bottom of it. Take 3 rows of Ritz crackers and just pound them up, pulverize them in a Ziploc bag. Dust those quail. You got them whole. You know, you want whole quail. You can use Cornish hens. You might want to talk to your chef there and tell him this if he don't know about it. So dust them with salt and pepper, and then roll them in that Ritz cracker meal. Put them in that Dutch kettle and put about, if it's a number 10 kettle, put about 7 or 8 briquettes underneath and about 11 or 12 on top. Let it set 45 minutes. Let it cook. Brett, that quail cooked that way is some of the best that you've ever eaten in your life. I'm telling you.
Oh man, sounds delicious. I hadn't eaten yet. You're making me hungry.
Well, I'm an old camp cook too. I love to cook outdoor stuff. But if when I come out to visit you, I'm gonna find out who does your cooking and have a little parlay with him. or her, whoever does it, and tells, hey, here's a recipe. You don't have to do that on a Dutch kettle with charcoal briquettes or embers, but boy, that sure is. Every time I think about a quail hunt, I think about that, Brett, that meal. And a lot of times I've been known to bring a Dutch kettle and do that too. Matter of fact, we're planning a hunt pretty soon out there with you, and who knows, I may bring a Dutch kettle. You never know.
There you go. That you can you feed the cook some of that, and you probably have them talked into cooking it the rest of the time.
What's it called? A sous chef? A chef? I may become a sous chef out there. Brett, I know how busy you are. You're planning all kind of hunts and booking this, that, and the other. But the website. I want to connect everybody with you. And once they get on your website, they can see what all you do. But the upland bird hunting, that's what really rung my bell. I mean, I thought, wow, this would be close, and it'd be a fun deal. But is it 3curlsoutfitters.com, or what's the website?
Yeah, so 3curl.com. There's no S there at the end. So 3curl spelt out THREECURL.com. And matter of fact, if you just Google 3curl Outfitters, we'll be right there on top, and you can find pictures and videos and information on all our hunts and everything we do.
Well, Brett, thanks very much for being with me. I know that being this close to Dallas and Fort Worth and North Texas in general, it's a destination, and it's good to have a nice big lodge like that close by. I know a lot of people have been taking advantage of it, and probably a lot in the plans too, right?
Oh, absolutely. We've got a big season coming up. So a lot of ducks, a lot of upland hunts, and of course we're chasing pigs year round. So those guys keep coming as well. But yeah, we've got a busy season coming up here. And yeah, Luke, I really appreciate you reaching out and taking the time to speak with me. Thank you.
You betcha. And thank you for being with us, Brett. I look forward to getting out there with you before long.
Sounds great. Yes, sir.
Folks, let's talk a little outdoor cooking. Let me tell you about an electric smoker that I've been using for 15 years, I guess. Smokin Tex electric smokers. If you're tired of staying up all night keeping that wood fire burning when you're barbecuing, give Smokin Tex a try. They're made to last a lifetime. You can check them out at SmokinTex.com. That's SMOKINTEX.com. Well, friends, Mr. Larry Weissoon is going to tell you about the finest hunting optics that we have ever found.
Look, these are called Stealth Vision. They come from Crockett, Texas. Dr. John McCall developed them. They're 34-millimeter tubes as opposed to the narrower tubes, so more light transmission. They have a little green light that comes on when that scope is leveled, because that's when you want to pull the trigger. They have an optional lighted reticle as well too, and a whole lot of other products. And folks can learn more about them by going to stealthvision.com.
And for seasonings, anything to do with outdoor cooking, all kind of jerky seasonings, sausage seasonings, Butcher Packer Supply. That's butcherpackersupply.com. I think the website is butcher-packer.com.
This segment here is brought to us by the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma, owned by the Choctaw Nation. Pyramyd Air, your one-stop shop for everything airgun related. Well, friends, we're devoting a bunch of today's show on deer talk. It's deer season. Larry Weissoon and I, you might have listened to us rambling on and campfire talk, and Larry's going to be back, and we're going to tell about our first deer that we took about 500 years ago. But right now, we're going to talk some taxidermy with Mr. Joe Parker, American Taxidermy. Now, Joe's been a taxidermist a long time. He knows a whole bunch about making an animal, recreating the life look of a deer, and how to prepare that animal before you get it to a taxidermist. So that's what we're going to talk about. Joe, thank you for being with us, buddy.
It's good to be here this morning.
Thank you. You're with me. You've been with me several times, usually about this time of the year. And we're going to connect everybody with you. Folks, I know you might be listening to a podcast that goes everywhere after you listen to this on all of our great radio stations, but Joe's located about an hour, a little less than an hour east of Dallas is where he's located. But the tips Joe's going to give you will help you wherever you're at, whatever part of the country. Joe, say it's kind of warm and you shoot a deer in the evening, and it's too far to get to you to take the deer, to have it, let you work your magic. What's the procedure? What would you advise for the hunter?
What I advise all my customers do is take it and put it in a good trash bag and put it on ice. I mean, it's not going to hurt it to get a little wet. You don't want to get soaking wet. But the main thing is heat, and this wet Texas heat. It'll kill you. The bacteria, once the bacteria sets in, you start losing hair. But just bag it up, put it on ice, and keep it covered with ice. Keep the water drained off. And you can keep it on there for several days as long as you keep the water. It's just like meat. You got to keep the water off of it.
Right.
You're good to go.
Okay, now, so I guess let's backtrack a little bit. We've got that deer on the ground. So first you're going to have to not really cape it out, but you're going to have to do some skinning, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so tell us where to start the cut. This also tricks a lot of folks up, and I do it. I've watched Larry do it. He is 10 times faster than me. I get it done, but I don't do it that much. I might do it once every 3 or 4 years, a buck I want to mount. So you want to make sure and leave enough hide for you, the taxidermist. So you want to start that cut probably about halfway back the body. Is that right? Or
Yes, sir. What I tell everybody to do is go at least halfway. If not, skin the whole thing out, bring the whole thing in. And then on the front, go down the center of the back of the leg, the front legs, where the brown hair meets the white hair. Go from the knuckle all the way up to the belly, and just skin all that forward.
Yep. Okay. So you have to do that. So you've got to get the legs, the hide off the legs. So just right up where the brown meets the white that'd be like the back side of the leg, right?
Yes, sir. The back side leg where the hair meets together. 2 different colors of hair meet.
Yep. And then you bring that. Just say you're starting at the lower part of the leg. You bring that right up. And explain where you end that cut now.
What I do is start at the knuckle or the elbow in the front leg.
Yes, sir.
Cut it all the way up, and I make a straight line. Once you get to the chest where the brown and white hair meet, you take it and go straight back, the parallel with the body. That way you go straight back. That way you have plenty of chest there, hair and skin there for any taxidermist. Because a lot of the new mounts we're doing nowadays is the pedestal mounts. There's more of the body on that mount. So you want more hide. The more hide you bring, the better off you are. That way there's no guessing if you brought it back enough.
Really, I mean, honestly, why not just skin? You got to skin the deer anyway, right? I mean, why not just start at the back legs? And although the same technique, if you bring the whole hide in, you're going to have to make those leg cuts. So you've got to make that cut from the bottom of the leg going up, but at some point get up and then you say go back with it, right?
Yes, sir. Right there, basically right in the armpit where the brown meets the white. You want to go straight back to the back of the body, but stay parallel with the body. Don't go to the left or right. Just go straight back. That way it's coming straight back. And pretty much any mannequin we use, you can use that procedure on any mount. There won't be no sewing or nothing like that.
Okay. And, a lot of this, I know what you're talking about, and I've done it, but for a lot of people, I want to make sure and connect people with you, Joe, and leave a phone number and all that where, if they need more information, they can call you. Would that be okay?
Yes, sir. I can do that. My name is Joe Parker with All American Taxidermy. I'm here in Quinlan, Texas, and my phone number is 214-596-8171. And you can call anytime if you have a question. Even if you're not a customer, you can call if you have questions, you can call and ask.
Folks, Joe knows his business too. He's been doing this a long time. I remember there in Mesquite, Texas, when I think you worked under for a long time there, learning the trade, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
For about 6 years.
Yep. That's the only way you can learn. I don't think I've ever had the patience to be a taxidermist, but it's an art form. There is no question about it. Joe, that's about it. The main thing, most deer hunters know, if it's warm, whether you like it or not, friends, you're going to have to learn how to, you're going to have to do some skinning to get that hide off like Joe talks about. And then just temperature, not just in Texas, but wherever, warm temperatures is not your friend. So like Joe was saying, just spend some time in the evening. It might be 60, 50 degrees, but skin that deer out and put it in maybe 2 trash bags to make sure you don't get any water in there, and then seal it up and ice it down, and it's good. As long as you keep it good and cold, Joe, you're good, aren't you?
Yes, sir. As long as you keep it good and cold and keep as much water off of it as possible,
that's
you're good to go.
Well, buddy, thanks a lot for the tips. I know this is very basic stuff to you, but it will help a lot of people out in the field. And maybe as deer season goes along, we'll get you back and talk some more taxidermy work. How about that?
Yes, sir. That'd be good. It's good to be here, and it's good to be able to help people out.
You bet, Joe, and that's what you're good at doing. Well, listen to me and Larry in our next segment. We're going to talk about the first deer hunt, the first hunts that we had many years ago. You'll probably get a laugh out of it, Joe, but it was far different back in the early 60s when we started hunting deer than it is today. So tune in. Thank you very much, buddy, for being with us.
Yes, sir. It's good to be here.
For about the past decade, I've been hunting editor for Air Gun Hobbyist magazine. I think the only magazine devoted strictly to air gun shooting and hunting in the country. Well, in that length of time, I've learned quite a bit about big bore air guns and smaller calibers too. A spot to go to that if you're interested in air guns, you need to know about Pyramyd Air. The website is PYRAMYD, PyramydAir.com. They have anything and everything you need, from the guns themselves, the big bores or the smaller calibers, to the accessories. Just remember PyramydAir.com, and there's a number when you get on the website if you need to call and talk to somebody. Give them a buzz, and they can fill you in on little details that you might need to know about shooting or hunting with big bore air guns. While you're on the website there, I'd like you to check out the big bore air gun that I've done a great deal of hunting with. It's the Seneca Dragon Claw, 50 caliber, pressures up to 3,000 psi, and it looks like a conventional rifle. Wooden stock. I think you'll like the appearance, and I know you'll like the performance. It shoots not only bullets, but also air bolts as well, tipped with a broadhead. Check it out. It's the Seneca Dragon Claw.
The snowflakes fall as winter comes, and time just seems to fly.
Friends, this segment is brought to us by CVA Muzzleloaders. In my opinion, the very best muzzleloaders in the world, the ones that I shoot. You can check them out online, CVA.com. AGM Global Vision, maker of the Rattler and the Adder that I use, you can check them out online too, AGMGlobalVision.com. Kuby's Wild Game Processing and Kuby's Restaurant in Dallas, and VINEYARDMAX, maker of some awesome deer attractant and some very fine game feeders and fish feeders, located down in Nacogdoches, Texas. Check them out at vineyardmax.net. Well, friends, we are back with Mr. Larry Weissoon with us here, and we just did not have enough time, Larry, in our normal campfire talk. It's deer season, and, well, we need to talk some more deer hunting, don't you think?
Agreed.
We talked about some pretty basic stuff, move slowly. I mean, regardless of what you're wearing, you can wear a tuxedo out there, but you better move slow when you're deer hunting if you want to kill a deer. Pretty basic stuff. But, you've told me before your first deer. Let's go back. Let's go way back, as they say.
We are going way back.
Way back. To where let's tell it. We've got time to tell about our first deer that we hunted deer back when there were hardly no deer. And we both of us hunted deer a lot and never saw a deer back in the day. But the first deer you killed, I think I remember the story, but tell us about that, Larry.
Look, it was 1961, so however many years ago that is, 40 almost, a long time ago. And I was sitting up in a tree, an old white oak tree, bent over, sitting up there, opening morning deer season, and I've got my Grandpa Schmeck's 12 gauge single shot shotgun that he called the Roar. Finally gets light enough to see, and I've got the double-aught buck stuck in the barrel, and I've got a double-aught buck stuck in my mouth, and I'm holding my mouth so I can get to it in a hurry. And here's something coming, and I look down to my left, and oh my God, here comes the world's biggest whitetail deer that ever existed on the face of the earth. And I'm watching. I'm going, oh my God, kind of thing. What I do, and I remembered, oh my God, I've got this shotgun. And so I pointed that shotgun in the direction of the deer. Now, I couldn't really truly aim because that shotgun on the receiver part had a little notch, and on the front there was a little bitty kind of a ivory-looking bead. So I just kind of lined that up with that deer shoulder, and he's standing probably not 20, 30 feet down below me kind of thing. And I cocked the hammer, and my heart's beating hard. I pulled the trigger, and my God, the deer goes down, and I know I just killed the world record whitetail deer. And about that time, that deer jumps up and starts running away, and I'm going, oh my God, I got to try to shoot him again. And so I break open that shotgun and to put in that double-aught buck I still have in my mouth kind of thing. I break it open, and when I do, I pulled a little bit too hard on the fore end. Now, that old shotgun, if you pull too hard on the fore end, it would disengage the barrel.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, I realized I'm watching this barrel disengage, go down to the ground, and go sticks in the mud. I got the buttstock in one hand, I got the forehand in the other hand, still got that double-aught buck stuck in my mouth, and world record deer is getting away. And for just a moment, I thought about jumping out of that tree 20 feet up in the tree, 30 feet up in the tree, and trying to recover that barrel. Finally, since it set up a little bit, came back, and deer were running off, and I just kind of halfway fell down that tree, getting down there, grabbed that barrel, and blew the mud out of the end of the barrel, put it all back together, put that double-aught buck in there, and I go running in the direction of where this deer had gone. Now, there was yopon and cedar and all kinds of things where the deer had gone. And, man, I'm looking, way ahead, which I could only see probably about 30, 40 yards at the very most where I was hunting. And I'm running in that direction, and I fall right over this world record whitetail deer. And I kind of look back, oh, my God, what did I fall over? I turn around, and here's this world record whitetail deer, and then all of a sudden, his antlers start shrinking, continue shrinking. And when it's all said and done, he's got about a 5-inch spike on one side, on his right side, and about a 4-inch spike on his left side. And he wasn't quite the world record whitetail deer that I thought he was. But I'll have to tell you, I had a shoulder mount done, and a neck mount done on a plaque. Mm-hmm. And it looks a whole lot like just a really big rat with antlers, with spike antlers. And actually, we're doing this while I'm sitting in my office right now, and I'm looking up at it right now, and I've got a whole bunch of mounts from all over the world and big stuff. And if I had to get rid of every mount in this office, that'd be the one that I would keep.
You bet. That's something that you will never ever forget, Larry.
Oh God, no, you won't.
It's amazing. It's amazing. My first one was, I'm going to guess, in '63 or a year or two after that. But the ironic thing is that I was near Waller, Texas, and that's not too far from where you live.
No, that where I currently live in Waller is not that far from where I actually shot my deer. It's just a little way west there.
Yeah, well, Papa Dinkins owned 2,400 acres down there, and back then I think that's all developed up now around Waller. But
I bet it is,
I haven't been there in years. But I'd go down there every year and spend one full week. They let me out of school a little bit around Thanksgiving, but I'd hunt there. Well, so my uncle Stuart, not a blood uncle, but my uncle.
Understood.
Yep.
Understood.
So he lived in Houston. He'd drive down, and he and I on the weekends, he would take me and him would hunt together. So I never will forget this. I didn't kill this deer. It took another year or two before I actually killed a deer. But I came so close that to me, it's my story of my first deer harvest. You've heard the story. The way it happened, I was up in my Uncle Stuart had built a big blind for my aunt, my blood aunt, she, big, comfortable blind up in this big old oak tree. And Uncle Stuart, he said, I want you to hunt there, boy, and it's a good spot. We've been putting corn on the ground, no feeders back then, you didn't maybe nail a bucket to a tree or something, but we want you to hunt there, boy, and a good chance you just stay awake and stay looking, be ready. Well, and then he was down there probably, honestly, 300 yards away, something in a ground blind, the little spot he'd fixed. So I'm sitting there, Larry, and I've got a 12-gauge single-shot, extra full choke, 32-inch barrel on that thing.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, a Stevens, I think it was. Breached down on the side, and it came apart just like the one you had. You pull that forestock down, and it just opens up, and you got the barrel and the stock, and that's the way it worked. So I'm sitting up there double-aught, and I had my other double-aught in the shirt pocket, right there handy.
Right.
So I see two does coming, and there's I call it broom sage, the old tall, broom sage. I don't think that's the official name, but we all called it that. It's grow up about 3 foot high. I saw two does coming through that broom sage to my left from the direction my uncle was down there. He had seen these deer, and he'd seen a buck that was behind them. Larry, it was a very good buck. It was, I don't remember the points, but it had a good rack. I bet you it was a 125-inch buck, something like that.
Right. Oh, my goodness.
Back in those days. I remember he had dark mahogany horns. Well, the doe come through trotting, and they stopped a little bit, and then they just trotted on through. I was a little clearing in the woods where I was watching, and there was a big oak out in front of me, probably a 30-inch oak, probably 25 yards in front of the tree that I was in, 30 yards maybe. Well, here come the doe through, and then I see horns, antlers, and really, to this day, it would get my heart pumping if I saw that same buck, because he was a branched antlered, full-grown buck. And all I could see through that broom sage is, his back and his head and antlers, He'd followed. He was right on the trail of those does. They had already passed through maybe a minute before, but I had no idea he was trailing the does, but that's what he was doing. He was on their scent, Well, he comes up there, Larry, and he's not running. He's just kind of moving fast, walking, and stops behind that oak, that 30-inch oak that was 30 yards from me. And he stops and he stays there for a good. I bet you a good 45 seconds, which seemed like an eternity back then.
I'm sure it did.
And so what I would see. I'd see his antlers and his nose and his eyes come around, and he's moving his head around, looking. He's probably trying to get a location where those does went, because that was his intent, I'm sure. And anyway, he just kept looking around. Finally, this was a novice hunter's mistake. Finally, he showed me his head, his whole from the jaw up and the antlers around that oak. Well, I put that, I had a little old silver bead and that little notch in the back of that thing, little groove that you lined up with, that was the sights on them old single shots, I put that right on him with that double-aught. And I remember I peeled just a little bark off that edge of that oak because I looked at it. Oh, my goodness. No, and it hit, and that buck went down like you had hit him with a sledgehammer. He dropped, and I thought, oh, my God. I have got I could see his horns, laying out there on the side of that, on the edge of that tree. Well, I got down, probably not slowly. I might have jumped out. I don't remember, but I got down out of that stand, and as soon as my foot hit the ground, this is no joke, that buck jumped up, and he was unscathed. He took one jump and cleared about 15 feet. And he went the way the does went. Well, I thought, I've read that, sometimes they don't go down right away. You wound them. So I go back, and I start looking. And my uncle, by then, he heard me shoot. He's up there 5 minutes from then. Look, and there is not a drop of blood. And he asked me, he said, well, how did he leave? I said, he left in bounds. 2 or 3 jumps, and he disappeared in the brush. We never found a drop of blood, but that's, in retrospect, I wish I'd have looked a little closer for I know that I hit that, one of those double aughts hit that deer's antler. That's all that could have happened, or maybe just grazed the top of his head or something, stunned him. Because he dropped like it shocked him or something, stunned him, but he didn't stay stunned long. But then I wound up, my first deer that I killed was a spike buck too, but that was anticlimactic compared to this.
Compared to that,
oh
my God! Yeah, I bet you hit his antler is what you did.
Yes,
I've seen that happen a time or two, particularly when we were shooting buckshot years ago. Where there's and my father-in-law later, he tells a story about a deer that he shot that they hunted, but he had shot it with a 12 gauge shotgun, and he ended up killing that deer. Went down, and as he went to go get him, deer got up and ran off. Well, about a month later, in December, this was early part of, about right before Christmas, he ended up killing that deer, and there was actually a double-aught buck embedded in the antler, and that's what had happened. It had knocked him down, knocked him out basically cold for just a little bit, but then he recovered very quickly.
It's
so
amazing.
That's probably what happened.
I'll never forget it. Well, Larry, thanks for coming back with me here.
Oh, my gosh, thank you.
To wrap the show up, and you and I will be hunting with the Cottons pretty soon. We'll talk about a current hunt next time. How about that?
I think that would be very appropriate.
Folks, that about wraps our show up for this week. I've enjoyed being with you, and I hope you've had a good time, too. This segment was made possible by AGM Global Vision, maker of the Rattler and the Adder, 2 awesome thermal scopes that I use for all my night hunting. Check out AGM, all the products that they have there online, agmglobalvision.com. And, folks, we're also brought to you by the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma, located about, 45 minutes west of Hugo, Oklahoma, owned by the Choctaw Nation. It's about 45,000 acres of awesome mountain, country, hills, valleys, loaded with game. Lots of eastern turkey, and they do eastern turkey hunts if you're looking for a spot to hunt turkey in the spring. Also, I want to remind you about the Seneca 50 caliber Dragon Claw that shoots bullets and pellets. And by pellets, I'm talking about 200 and 210 grain lead, chunks of lead. It's a big bore air gun that I use. Check out the Seneca Dragon Claw there at PyramydAir.com.